they're more meaningful to you because it's your career. But we try and run them the same way. So we're going to sit down with you and we'll talk to you about what's going well, the things that you're doing right, what are some of the things you're doing wrong. And you will get a grade at least at mid-semester and at the end. Some advisors will do it more often than that. When you get your mid-semester review, that's not 50% of your grade or anything like that. You can completely turn that around. So if you have a B or a C at mid-semester, that doesn't mean that that's going to factor into your grade at the end. We're just trying to give you, if the semester ended now, here's where you stand. So you could put in a lot of work and get a lot of accomplishments done for the end. You'll set, in your grading, we'll look at your team goals. So we'll take a look at the Gantt chart that you made and see, are you keeping up with that? We'll look at your notebook, and you'll do an individual evaluation. So you'll evaluate yourself first and turn in what you think you should get as a grade, and we'll review that with you. So the notebooks are usually checked at weeks 4, 8, 12, and 16, and that varies a lot by advisor. Okay? Most of them will only meet with you and talk about them at 8 and 16. Okay? I'd say the most common grade in EPICS might be an A. I think they're getting a little bit tougher. It may be a B now. So a B is a good grade at Purdue. If some of you are freshmen and don't realize that yet, Purdue is not an easy grading university, so you have to earn those A's. I would say there are a lot of A's and B's in EPICS because we tend to get students who are exceptional. Okay, so we expect exceptional work out of all of you. That doesn't mean you have to know how to do everything. We're almost always going to ask you to do things you don't know how to do, but we expect to see that level of effort commensurate with excellence. And an A is for excellence, not for average. Okay? So the general grading guidelines, A is excellence, B is good. So again, a B is a good grade. If you get a B, that's not saying that you did a bad job. If you show up to every single lecture that you're expected to and you show up to all of your labs, you're very unlikely to fail. Okay? I think most of you will get into your projects and be excited, and you'll work very hard. So again, grading is based on documented work. It doesn't matter if you do a lot of work and you don't write it down. We won't know that you did it because you're working on a team. Okay? So your notebook is your chance to prove that you did this work. Right? If you're on a team with 6 people and 5 of them write down everything they do and you did all the work, they're going to get a better grade than you because they wrote it down. Okay? So you have to show us that you're doing the work. I understand that some people tend toward being lousy note takers and some people don't, but you have to hold yourself accountable for writing down the things that you're doing and make sure that your advisor can see it and know about it. Okay? So again, juniors and seniors, you don't have to take a leadership position to get an A. All right? That's not the expectation. You can be a regular team member and get an A, but we expect to see excellent work. Same thing for a freshman and a sophomore. Just showing up will not get you an A. Okay? So you have to put in the work. You will be stretched out of your comfort zone. Expect that. But a good grade is definitely attainable. I showed you the EPICS website. I showed you my EPICS. I showed you SharePoint. So in addition to the notebooks on SharePoint, there are also project and team repositories for past information. So you can see past students' work, documentation, CAD files, code, things like that they've kept. Okay? So that's the place you want to go to look for what did the past team do. The other thing you'll need to know about is you'll have a team email list. A lot of teams use alternative communication now, use group texts and things like that. You're more than welcome to do that, but you do have a team email address, which would be EPICS- your team name, so EPICS-Slack, EPICS-SBVI, EPICS-Rocket, whatever your team might be, at ecn.purdue.edu. Okay? So that will go out to all of your team. Your advisor and TA are probably not on that list. Okay? Some of them are, but most of them are not. One note on paperwork. To do an EPICS project, you will have to buy things. Okay? So there's no way of getting around that. You're building something, you'll have to buy things. Don't spend your own money to buy things because we can't pay you back. Okay? So don't do that. Every semester we have a couple of people do it, even though we tell them not to. Don't do that. Come into the EPICS office and you'll fill out a simple form, purchasing form, if you're ordering something online or if you want to check out a credit card and go somewhere local. Okay, so if you need to go to Radio Shack or Home Depot We can check you out a credit card. You'll go and buy what you need, bring back the receipt, and we'll pay the credit card, okay? We can't reimburse you personally. If you're ordering something online, likewise, you just fill it out. We'll order it for you and get it in, okay? We order a ton of stuff off of Amazon Prime, so it doesn't have to be complicated. Every team has a $200 allocation to begin the semester. You can ask for much more money than that in your team budget. You just have to submit a budget to EPICS to request it. Most teams over the course of the project will spend a few $1,000s. You can also apply for grants through the provost. Most teams are eligible for that, and we usually get most of those we request. So if you're on a team and you look like you're going to spend a bunch of money, make sure you put in a grant proposal. 2 more pieces of paperwork that we need you to fill out are in My EPICS. One is the model release form, and this says if someone takes a picture of you while you're in the EPICS labs, we can use it. So you'll see nice photos on the EPICS website, things like that. Those are our real students. As handsome as they may be, they're not models. So if you find yourself on a huge banner somewhere, it's because you filled out that model release form, and we need you to do that. And the other one is the Armstrong Safety Agreement. So all of our labs are in Armstrong Hall, and we need you to review all the safety procedures for the building so that we know that you're conducting yourself in the right way, okay? So you're agreeing to not hurt yourself or anyone else, okay? All right, so those couple of things are in My EPICS again. You'll need to do those promptly. Oh, no personal reimbursements. So the EPICS labs, I don't know how many of you have been through Armstrong Hall. On the first floor, we take up a big part of the footprint right in the middle. So some of the things that you'll see are our computer lab. So this is down the main hallway in the middle of the first floor, between where the first year engineering offices are and the atrium. We're right in the middle. So we have a computer lab that's dedicated only for EPICS students, okay? A lot of EPICS students live in that lab. You do have free printing in that lab, but please print only your EPICS work. We always have people come in and print 600-page math textbooks. You can find an angry lab manager when he finds those things because we get donations from our industry partners so that we can provide services for our community partners. So when you print your math textbook, you're stealing from the United Way or the Indiana School for the Blind or some community organization that needed that money. And people don't think of it that way. They think score free printing. So it's not actually free. It's free to you so that you can do your EPICS work. Because sometimes you have to print documents for design review or things like that. So feel free to use those printers. Please don't abuse them. If you abuse them, I'm going to have to turn them off and take them away. And you don't want to do that. Right beside the computer lab, conveniently, is our build lab. So this is our dirty space. If you need to make a bunch of sawdust, this is a place to go. We've got compound miter saw, circular saws, drills, those kind of things are all out. Most of the saws are locked. You'll need to get me or one of your TAs to use those. There's a drill press in there, and the drills, those are unlocked. You can use those anytime. Please don't work in there doing anything remotely dangerous by yourself, okay? You need to at least have someone with you to call 911 when you hurt yourself, okay? No, in seriousness, we've never had a major injury that I know of in EPICS, and definitely haven't had in the 2 years that I've been back as lab manager. Please don't be the first. I don't want to have to call your parents and tell them you cut your hand off, which you certainly are capable of doing in there. Across the hall is our main lab space. We have a prototyping space along the point right above Amelia's Cafe. And that's mostly where we keep really big projects. So you'll see we have a house, a boat, a couple of cars, and a horse. So really everything you need for elegant living in that side of the lab. And it can get to be a big mess. So please be conscientious when you're storing your projects to keep them as neat as you can. On the other side is the electronics prototyping. So that's where we have all of our instrumentation if you need function generator, oscilloscope, soldering stations, things like that. Okay, if you're doing electrical work, it's all over there. You'll also see the 2 conference rooms, 1098B and C. This is where your lab section will meet. People always get lost at these rooms because they come to these doors on the outside, and they're numbered 1, 2, and 3. And your room will say 1098B, and you come to 1, 2, and 3, and you keep wandering down the hallway. Go inside, they're inside the room, okay? So if you see 1098, you're in the right place, you just need to go inside. And so those 2 rooms are where you'll meet for your 2-hour lab session and for your design reviews, okay? We do design reviews twice a semester, once at the mid-semester and once at the end. During the design review, you'll put on your fancy clothes, you'll put together a presentation. We invite people from industry, from the university to come in and criticize you about what you're doing. It's for your own good. This is much like what you do in industry when you have to sit in front of your board of directors or the group of vice presidents and presidents of an industry, and they're going to tell you that you're screwing up and you need to go faster and spend less money. This is what they're going to do. They're going to come and criticize you, and it helps you to focus in on what's important in my project, where are we going astray, okay? So your advisor and TA try and do that, but they're also too tightly involved. It's good to have someone from outside come in. And so it's a really great experience. Usually students are really nervous about it, which is awesome because it's good practice. But there's nothing to be nervous about. They're there to help you serve your community partner, okay? So you won't be afraid if you remember that you are there as a service to someone else who needed something, and they're there to help you in that process, and then it's much less scary to see it that way. There's also a tiny small group meeting section down here that sometimes gets overrun by the boat or the car, but there is a section down there if you need to have small group meetings. The EPICS office is right down the hall in this blue room right here. So Armstrong 1200 is the main door, and all of the staff's offices in there. Come see us anytime for anything. We're there for you to help you. You can get all of the help you need there. Lab use. The labs are for EPICS students only. If you have something you need to do outside of EPICS and you want to use the labs, or you have a friend who wants to use the labs, I'll usually let you, but please ask me first. It's very irritating when I come in and people are using tools or taking supplies out of the lab and they're not EPICS students. I will usually let you, but I want to make sure everyone in there has filled out the safety forms, okay? So if you have some friend that's like, I really need to use a soldering iron, it's okay. They just need to come see me first, okay? So that's not a problem at all. They are a privilege, so don't abuse them. Again, no charge for printing, and print only your EPICS work. There are card swipes on each of the lab doors. You need to make sure this week that you swipe your card. It probably won't work the first time because you have an issue number on your card, and I don't have that number. So our system gives me your Purdue ID, but not your issue number. When you swipe it, I'll get it. So when you swipe it the first time, it probably won't work, and then we'll update the system, and we'll get them all in there. So make sure you swipe your card. In the lab, please exercise a safety first mindset. Again, we've never had injuries. I don't want to have injuries. We're not going to have injuries, and you're going to do that by using your common sense, okay? So don't use a tool that you don't know how to use without getting someone to help you, okay? So we always have a lot of students who have never operated a saw before, and it's really fun and exciting. Some people see that excitingness as fear, and they want to stay away, and some people want to go crazy and cut some stuff. I like both kinds, but come get me first, and I'll help show you how to use it or get your TA, okay? So we want to be safe. We want to make sure we do everything we need to do. In the build lab, you should have on shoes and pants. If you have long hair, you need to tie it back. No dangly jewelry, all right? Don't wear your scarf into the saw because the saw will grab your scarf and pull your head in, right? So I will give you training on those things as much as I can. Don't use anything that you're not comfortable using, okay? Is that cool with everybody? So the pants and shoes thing isn't a problem this time of year because it's cold, but when it starts to warm up, people will come in flip-flops and shorts, or some of you do that anyway in January. So don't do that. Safety first. Please respect that this is a shared space. So we have, like I said, over 500 students. We're going to get close to 550 this semester. And that little lab space that I just showed, it's a big lab space, but for 550 students, it can get wrecked really fast if you don't treat it well. None of you like to come into a messy lab where you can't find any of the tools and you can't work because there's stuff strewn all over the place. So don't do that to other people, okay? Show respect for one another and respect for me by taking care of those things. So honestly, the lab space we have, we're able to service all of the various branches of engineering, which is amazing in one lab space. And it really enables you to do your projects, so please take care of it. I know that people your age like memes, so I thought I would include all of the memes about cleaning up the lab. We don't have dedicated cleaning staff that clean those up, so when you go in and wreck the place, my TAs or myself have to do it. I'm not a custodian. I'm not there to clean up after you. I'm definitely not your mom or your dad, whoever likes to clean up after you at home. Clean up after yourself. Just leave the lab better than you found it every time you come in, okay? I say this every semester, and it goes pretty well for 4 or 5 weeks, and then everybody freaks out because design review is coming, and they make a huge mess and leave it for me. Don't do that. So I'm going to go quickly over emergency procedures in the Armstrong building. So that is not this building. For those of you who really don't know what's going on yet, you're in physics. These are the procedures for Armstrong. And that's because that's where you're going to work most of the time doing anything that's even remotely dangerous. So again, you don't have to zip your bags up just yet. We've still got a few minutes. Don't work alone. If there's an accident, which there won't be, if there's an accident and someone is hurt beyond a Band-Aid, please call 911 first. And once that's done, then call me, okay? My number is on all the lab doors. There are phones in all the labs. You can use your cell phone because the labs and the phones in the labs are confusing to use. I recommend you sign up for Purdue Alert text messages if you haven't done that already. You'll get lots of 3 a.m. text messages that somebody got robbed on Wiggins, and those are always interesting. Maybe scary, but at least interesting. But you'll also find out if there's a tornado or a hazardous material release or an active shooter situation on campus, and they will tell you how to respond, okay? And that can be very important. Please also review the Armstrong Building Emergency Plan, okay? You can get to that through the Purdue EPICS website. There's a link right on there for that. So that will tell you what to do in an emergency. There are generally 2 kinds of emergencies. First one is an evacuation. That means we want to get out of the building. You know you want to get out of the building if you hear the alarm inside the building, okay? Alarm inside means go outside. If you hear the alarm outside, that's a shelter-in-place situation. You want to go inside, okay? So alarm inside, get out. Alarm outside, go in. Make sense to everybody? So flee from the alarm. There are really 3, so an evacuation is generally the fire alarm, right? That's the main occasion for an evacuation. Shelter in place, there are really 3 times that could happen. One would be severe weather. Those of you who aren't from Indiana, we get really severe weather in the form of tornadoes. So probably some point in your career, you'll get at least 1 tornado siren. You want to go inside. A hazardous material release can happen on this campus. There are some very serious chemicals that are stored and used on this campus. In fact, there is a nuclear facility just next door. And then the last one would be an active shooter situation, something none of us want to see, but it happened on campus 2 years ago, okay? So it's something that can happen. No one wants it to happen here, but it can. So we want to be prepared for those situations. If you hear the fire alarm, you're going to go outside the Armstrong building, and you're going to meet up between, okay, so here's the Armstrong building, here's Push. Everybody know where Push is? It's where you go when you get sick. Okay, you're going to go right between those 2 buildings. Do not leave, okay? So if you're in the lab and the fire alarm goes off and you go back to your dorm or you go to Potbelly and get a sandwich and the firemen come and the building's in flames and they say, "Where is Danny?" And we say, "I haven't seen Danny." We're going to assume that you're inside and then we're going to send them in after you and put them in danger. So don't do that. Stay with your class because your TA and your advisor are going to go out there and make sure everybody's accounted for. So we're not sending emergency personnel into a dangerous situation, okay? So this is where you're going to go. I know I'm short on time. Severe weather, you're going to go into the basement. Hazardous material release, this is why you want the text messages, because depending on the material, if it's a heavy gas and you go in the basement, that's bad, okay? Most situations with hazardous material, you do want to go in the basement. So this is why you want the text alert so you know what's going on. So that's hazardous material. Active shooter, you're going to want to stay in the room that you're in. If you're in one of the labs, go inside the lab meeting rooms and close the door, and your TA will lock the door. The labs have glass windows, not the best place to be, okay? So go into the team meeting rooms. You're going to turn off the lights and try to make it look like nobody's home, okay? That's the safest place for you to be. So this doesn't apply. These are the keys to success. I know I have no time. Homework. I need you to go onto that website and go under design document and review the design process documents, okay? That's what Dr. Zoltowski is going to cover over the next 3 weeks, but you need to read up on it ahead of time. It's a big, long document, so you might not get through all of it, but make sure you start to cover and get some of the basics. I also want you to find the website again on your own, because you're going to need it. Find your team's SharePoint page, and you need to go into MyEPICS and do that model release and lab safety form this week, okay? And then you need to swipe your key in the door locks. Last reminder, fill out that attendance form. So you all got a Scantron sheet. You need to have number 1 true and your name and your student ID number on there, okay? Good? Don't forget, last semester, I forgot to tell people to do that. No one did it, and no one got credit for a lecture. So make sure you turn that in. All right? Thank you very much. Turn into the TAs. So Neha's over here. Somebody should be back there. If you can't find a TA, you can bring it up here to me.